Hi, this time I'd like to share some ideas about orienting to possibility and bringing in some quantum ideas about reality and about what's possible. So here at the beginning, I want to invite you, as we do with each of these videos, to take a moment to follow your next out breath all the way down to the bottom of the breath, to that place where you connect with your own place of core presence, your own internal home base, the place where you find not only your unique energy signature radiating throughout your body, mind, being, and out into the world, but you also touch into the steadiness that's always there. It's a steadiness that is never disturbed. There's the quiet also, the undisturbed quiet that exists at the core of your being. It's also never disturbed. It never expresses disquiet. It is always just what it is. So remember that this internal landing place, this home base that you carry inside, is your place of refuge. You can settle in there and rest. Just rest. Hang out for a little bit, not doing anything else, just being there. And remember that your radiating energy signature, your radiating presence, not only touches every single of the trillions of organisms that comprise the community that is your body, but your quality and tone of being also fills your emotional aspect of being, your mental aspect of being, and your spiritual aspect of being, whatever that is for you. And then your radiating presence reaches out into the world around you, touching and interacting with the radiating presence of everything else around you. Notice how it feels inside to recognize that you are always in relationship. You are never, ever alone. And remember, if we think about quantum realities, which I'd like to play with in this video, we're never separate from anything else. Remember, we are part of a web of life out of which we cannot fall, and where we are entangled with absolutely everything. We are part of a complex whole that reaches well beyond the planet in terms of entanglement as it's explored in quantum research. We are connected to everything. So just to notice how that feels in your body, how you live into that. And this time, I want to talk about quantum versus linear perspectives around possibility and probability. For many of us, when we think in a quantum kind of way, and I apologize for any quantum scientists who are just groaning right now that their findings get applied to what I want to share with you, this kind of thing out there. But it's really very important to move beyond our linear materialistic perspective, which is so limited in a reality that is as complex and creative as the one we actually live in. So also, let's just plant along the side here the idea of multiverses and alternate realities, that there's a very real possibility that as I sit here in my living room talking to you on video, there are frequencies and realities going on all around me that I don't perceive because they aren't within the range of frequencies and awareness that I carry in my body-mind equipment. I think it can be developed more. But as I sit here right now, I'm not aware of what I absolutely am sure is here within different dimensions and frequencies, which also probably don't know about me because they are just resonating in different realities. So one of the things I've mentioned before and has been a big part of my professional life is orienting to optimal possibilities. Looking at how we carry intentions and how those intentions interact with probabilities and possibilities. And I think I've mentioned before that for years, I have invited people to connect with their optimal future self, to blend bodies and to allow their physiology, emotions, and mind to learn the way of being that exists within their optimal future. Never was I asking people to go and find out what their future holds for them. Instead, I have invited people over many, many years to connect with their optimal future self, absorb and bring back the body-mind being or the qualities of body-mind being that their optimal future self has lived into that they haven't yet actualized or enlivened. That's been mostly the way I've handled this. And what I ask people all the time to do around all of this quantum kind of process, and I'm different about some other people around this, I ask people to be willing not to know, and instead to be very open and receptive to allowing new awareness, new perspectives to arrive, often without warning, just a new idea lands. So on one of the other videos, I think I mentioned each day, invite yourself to say, I am receiving and living my optimal life as an intention that you're carrying into each day without knowing what that means. And it's about one of the ways I've experienced this directly is I experience myself as sensing that my optimal life arrives and then arises. It's not a top-down process of figuring things out, imagining specifics. It's a process of receiving what is arriving so that as it arises, I'm open and receptive to the impressions that it brings. It's a little different from those folks who are working with quantum potentials and having people imagine specifics, which is also fine. It's just for my particular experience, it's been more a process of feeling into the differences between where I am now and what is available to flow into me. And then just noticing what happens as I make room for that. My very first future self experience was in a pine woods in the Berkshires in Massachusetts in 1982. And this image of me dropped in front of me. And I knew from my prior hypnosis experience and the therapy I was in with someone who worked with a lot of imagery, I knew to step inside that impression that had come down in front of me, to feel that body mind from the inside. And that future me, I didn't know at that time she was a future me, but she had a very solid core, which for the person I was at that time was like totally alien, not at all who I was internally. And I started to just remember that sensation, to draw on it. And within a couple of years, it was very clear to me she was a future me. And I had by then integrated and taken in I'll say the beginnings of that solid core. It's taken years to have it actually be as solid as it was in her, but it is now. And so that's how I've kind of come along with this. So to play in your own mind with what happens in you when you play with the idea that optimal possibilities are accessible. For example, if we think about how our Earth is being challenged at this time with climate change and just overpopulation and all the other things humans have brought to our planetary experience, what's it like to imagine that there is an optimal potential, an optimal life for this planet? And what would it be like to hold that intention? There are people all over the world right now holding this kind of collective prayer and thought and intention on behalf of the planet. So just to play with it in your own mind, imagining an optimal Earth arriving and arising and coming into being. Just arriving and arising and taking shape, landing. Just as for you, your optimal life can arrive and arise and take shape in your daily experience without knowing what that's going to mean. Now, one thing I always say about calling on optimal life experience, or for me, calling on optimal future selves, is they can generate change. And even good change is sometimes uncomfortable. So just to be willing to know that change might happen, but that when you're orienting to your optimal life, that will be the quality and tone of the outcomes coming into your sphere of experience and being. And so that's about what I wanted to share this time, is just to play with the fact that linear progression is one way to look at the world, but there are miraculous, spontaneous healings all the time, that are totally unable to be explained. Magical stuff is happening all the time in a quantum world. Probabilities popping in and out of being. So play with what happens in you when each day you orient to receiving and living your optimal life in a quantum way, not a linear way, letting it arise rather than a top-down plan, and just see what happens. And so for this time, that's it for now. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.